heard him before for the opening remarks. Vimal, who is the Managing Director with India for Snowflake. Can we welcome Vimal once again with big round of applause, please? Oh, he's already there. Okay, to join Vimal, I'd like to invite Mufazzal Arif sir, Vice President Data Science with HDFC Bank. Jigar Mehta, SVP Head Innovation BIU Analytics with Aditya Birla Health Insurance Company. And to join them, I will also like to invite Ankur Arora, Vice President Data Science and AI with MasterCard. All three Vimal for your discussion.
Awesome. Good afternoon. I know we are holding you from lunch. I can already smell the rotis, but let's bear for a little more time because it's going to be an exciting conversation on data, AI, and we'd love to hear from our industry practitioners and leaders, their thoughts around data. So if I can start my first question to Arif, how does data analytics really impact an organization and how can it be leveraged for business growth?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I think that's a good question, and I will, the organization which I belong to, it's a bank, but I will take it a little differently. It's a digital way of looking at it, right? So, when you look at a customer, so I'm as from the bank, from the customer point of view, if you look at a different journey of a customer, right? So it's from the acquisition, retention, and all that stuff. So how I call it in my parlance on what we have coined it as an 𝗟𝗂𝗃𝗲. The reason being is the art of asking questions. We usually go on asking, the H's more, how do I do it? But you should ask the W's more. And
I'm sorry, that word, I don't think it got registered for the audience. If you could say it a little louder, please.
So I think it's called as 𝗟𝗂𝗃𝗲, right? That's what we call it. It's more of why should I do it, when should I do it, and all that stuff. That's the power of data, and that's what we do it, right? We have been doing a lot of digital analytics. We've been doing a lot of things. I primarily handle the marketing analytics part of it, and I'm very proud to say that I don't call myself marketing analytics professional anymore. I call myself revenue marketer. Now, why do I say revenue marketer? It's a very simple, because I've started contributing to the books, right? So there's one mindset, it's a big mindset change. I think everybody needs to get into it. One that is called as growth hacking. I'm not sure anybody would have heard, you can even Google it. But a growth hacking, it's a very simple thing. It's basically take small slivers of data, don't go behind big data, and start experimenting. Fail, learn, re-implement it.
Fantastic points, right? This is exactly the fail fast philosophy, I think.
Correct. And I think I swear by it and I go by it. I have been practicing it, I don't know for how many years now, and I think it's been very successful.
So it leads to my follow-up for both you and Ankur as well, right? So is this really changing the adoption of data and AI in your respective organizations? And what's your expert take on this?
It is, there's a movie when everybody said entertainment. And I think you should change that word and say experiment. Nobody does A/B testing.
That's the key takeaway. Experiment.
Right? Just experiment yourself. Don't go for perfection. Experiment, do A/B testing, and do tons of experimenting, right? As I said, growth hacking is one of the principles. It's very simply put as like hypothesize it, keep hypothesizing it, put it into practice, learn and get back. As a data practitioner, I think everybody in the room is a data practitioner. What we do is we look in single line, right? I get the data, I build the model, I implement it. One important thing which you forget is the feedback loop, right? And in a couple of sessions which I heard, probably from Tata Capital, if I'm not mistaken, is that I have a lot of unstructured data. What do I do with it? You can do tons of things. And I'm very proud to say that we are the first in the country as a bank where we have a Netflix of products, right? So the NBA, which we call a next best action, right? That's what we've implemented by using not structured data, that's passe. We've started using unstructured data. So just to give an example, UPI is a transaction. You get tons of information. If you just set whiteboarding on it, you'll get tons of information from the acquisition, retention, and all of stuff. Very simple. You just go back to your Google Pay, look at your own transaction, and try to understand what you have done. That's a pure unstructured way of looking at the data.
Fantastic. So, Ankur, from your standpoint at MasterCard, your insights, please.
Yeah. So I'll just talk about some of the insights. So as we set up this practice, right, AI/ML, right. So the first thing that everybody thought in our organization was, this is going to eat my job. So I think from there, how do you build adoption, right? Because the people who you are building a solution for are actually seeing you as a threat for them, right? So I think that's where we started, and I think to get people adopted from there, right? I think you have to tell them that, see, it's going to take up the job which is mundane, which is every day for you, and which takes up your 90% of your time. So I think this is what we had to do a very, very good job in terms of explaining them, right? This 90% of the job that you do is going to be easy for you, and you can invest your time into other things which are more valuable and which will add value to you as well, and which will add value to the organization as well. I think that's the difference, that adoption that we had, right? We had to really convince people for the solution for which we are building the solution. Right?
So, what was your MasterCard moment? For everything else, there's MasterCard, the priceless moment. What was that inflection point for you?
Yes. Inflection point was that to see somebody saying that we don't want your solution, we don't want to talk to you, to somebody saying that we want it now. It's just helping us solve it. I think that's the inflection moment that we had, right? That from a place where everybody was against AI, machine learning in our organization, to a place where we are now, right? Where everybody wants to build AI and ML, and they see it as taking up their redundant task. I think that's what really encouraged me.
Fantastic insights there. Let me come to you, Jigar, right? From building the data AI strategy, of course, how do you recommend that folks who are possibly early in the journey of building a data journey or a strategy, how do you build a very strong data strategy which will help solve the business problem? But I think the other fundamental question along with that is, how do you build a robust technology stack to support that vision as well?
Sure. So data strategy is quite a big topic, and it should be a natural extension of the business strategy, right? And it should follow it. For example, from our company, we were in the health first model, and one of the business problems that we were trying to solve was managing claims. And the focus was on collecting a lot of health data for our customers. We were giving a lot of free health checkups. So we were collecting a lot of unstructured data, and we wanted to kind of use that to improve the health outcomes of the customer, reduce health risk. And so we looked at the 4 components of the data strategy. The first one is the overall data architecture, right? And I'll give an example with the specific example and explain each of the component. The first one is the data architecture. The second one is equally important, data management and data governance. The third one is about the people, which will power the data strategy. And the fourth one is the last mile engagement and interventions that are required to drive business outcomes, right? So these are the 4 broad components. We can obviously have subcategories. So from our perspective, when we were looking at wanting to solve the health outcomes improvement for our customers, that was a big problem for our organization. So we were wanting to collect a lot of health data. We digitized a lot of data, claims which runs into hundreds of pages, bills, ML-based OCR. So the right architecture is about the right infrastructure, technology. It will be company specific, data lake, data warehouse. There's no right answer there. But yes, the important thing was to leverage the unstructured data, which we were able to do in the data architecture. In the data management, then it was all about benchmarking, peer group ranking. We created a well-being score where we collected 100+ data and had a leaderboard, peer ranking, etc. on the data management, population health risk analytics. So that was the second element of the data strategy. And the third one was people. It is the right blend and amalgamation of skill sets. Data engineer, even business leaders have to be completely involved. Data science, you need business analyst. So the right blend is very important to power the right data strategy. And the fourth one is the last mile engagement. We use that intervention to kind of engage the health coaches, and our doctors were engaging with high risk customers to improve the health outcomes. So that's the data strategy from our organization.
Fantastic insights, right? And one of the key questions I want to persist on that topic: how important is the culture of the organization to drive all of these changes that you just mentioned? Does it start from the top? Is it bottom up? How does it work?
It has to be top down. There has to be sponsorship from the very top, obviously, and then conviction. is built over a period of time. That it has to be talked about.
Got it. So my next question, I think it'll be of immense value for everyone who's listening in as well, is what are the best ways to leverage data to get the business results that you want? I think we spoke about the technology stack, we spoke about the adoption, we spoke about use cases, and now there's a culture which is top down. Now that you have all the building blocks for success, I think you've all spoken about it as well, what are the best ways in which people can actually leverage data in order to get business results?
I'll take this up. It's more of personalization, and like everybody wants to go n equal to 1, and it's actually a journey. You cannot have n equal to 1 right up right there. So first thing is 1. Second thing, we need to break data silos. That's the biggest problem which we have, right? You may say how much ever data lake you have, etc., but I think this continuous stream of data needs to be there for actually an AI implementation to be successful. Very frankly speaking, I think everybody knows it. I don't want to repeat the number, but 2% of odd are the only successful number, but just because of the data, right? So I think data silos, personalization is something which will make use of it. That's my take.
Ankur, from your insights as well.
So I'll talk about in MasterCard so I think we have to just put the question in the opposite direction, right? So I think we always talk about data technology, but I think the question has to be on the opposite side, where we talk about the business problem and everything has to be just from the opposite side, saying this is a business problem that we are facing and now what data can help us, right? Where can we get this data? And then going back and saying that is the data available in our ecosystem, or can we get this data from different parts of the ecosystem and getting the data into that ecosystem so that we can utilize it. I think that's the big learning that I have from moving from, I think we all focus on creating a one view of the data, creating the data lakes, but I think it should always boil down from the opposite side of the things, where we have a business problem and then we are thinking about what data can power that business problem.
I think this is exactly the conversations we have with CEOs, CFOs, CMOs, board level folks as well. Absolutely, data silos, and that's a big part of what we do from Snowflake as well, is break down those data silos and then really focus on the real world use cases on how do you get people to adopt that one single source of truth and run multiple models around it.
Yeah, so I think when we are building an AI ML practice, right? So we had this fancy algorithms, we had everything, we had the fanciest of the data scientists, PhDs, right? But when we actually started building it and we wanted to get revenue, right? So that's the bigger question, right? How do we create revenue from these streams, right? We have the best of everything, but then you have to find out those use cases which will really create value for you. I think that's also a big learning for us. The technology is one thing, people are one thing, but then marrying the three to generate a revenue stream for us. And AI is a buzzword. It is giving a lot of attraction, but how to generate revenue from it?
So I'll just add, Ankur, to your point, and one learning which we at the bank have done is that collaboratively working. So working across all different teams, from product-wise, data scientists, IT, everybody put into one single room to solve that problem, and that has really helped us. So we usually call it in our language pods. I think everybody is doing that, and it's doing wonders.
Yeah, so I think we had a very big learning. We hired data scientists, we hired PhDs, but then we forgot to hire the data engineers, right? And we just found out that they are the most important part. They are the 80% of all the things. So I think that's what we learned across the way, that we went with the industry trend, hired data scientists, hired everything best, but then data engineering is one area that we thought that it's actually contributed to 80%. And data scientist job is like not enough without these people.
What are your retention strategies for these people now? Hiring is one part, but how do you retain such amazing talent?
Yeah, so I think it is definitely tough in this market to retain such talent. But I think what we have done is we have created a basket of opportunities for them. So we just don't fight on the salary part, right? So we have created a structure where they have the best learning culture in the organization. So I think that's the only thing that I feel that I'm able to retain my people, because the best learning culture in the organization. So we have like you can read the best papers, you go to university, do do a master's program there. So build things around the salary part so that these things become more important. Culturally, these things become really important.
Fantastic. If I can come to you, Jigar, right now. In terms of data, I think you hit the nail on the head. Data engineering is such a big part of the data and AI/ML problem, but also comes with issues around data quality, for example, right? That's a key part of getting clean data into the data platforms. What best practices can you recommend for folks here to ensure the quality of that data which is flowing into the system?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing is to just be cognizant about it. Start monitoring. Have a data completeness index, data profiling. Then the second stage is looking at the data quality. So once the data completeness is there, how is the quality of data, even where the data is complete? And the third is then, the third stage is the data augmentation, where once we have these two blocks in place, then how do we keep on augmenting the data using internal and external source? So this is a three-stage process that we look at within the organization.
Arif and Ankur, if you would like to chime in as well, in terms of the data quality problem, what are your best practices from your learnings as well?
So I think we are still struggling with it. So what we did, I think we acquired a lot of companies also in AI/ML space and even in the other spaces, right? And the data just kept increasing. These companies had this data silos, and we are not able to generate a single view of the data, right? So we have, in our core systems, we have the data view, but then when we see across the systems, right, we have biometric data, we have other kinds of PII data. So these are very difficult for us to like get a one view of them. I think it's still a struggling problem for us, I would say.
So exactly what Ankur said, right? So we also started hiring data engineers now. So we're doing the plumbing now. So it's not just the first, but I think that's how the quality will improve.
So coming to you, Arif, just to also understand, from a banking standpoint, I think it's a question a lot of folks have asked, and we have consolidated that into this one, overarching question. Are we using AI anywhere in banking in the real sense, or is it just an extension of ML? And if yes, if you can possibly share some real life examples, please.
So I think yes and no. It's a combination of both. So you can say it's an ML++. I can put it that way. Yes, you may call it AI, you may call it ML++, what it is, but there's a very strong use case over there, right? So as one of the esteemed speakers spoke about, when the ATM, swipe at the ATM, you get the, personalization. So yes, we do that. We have that real-time analytics in place, and that's what we do. And it's again comes back to plumbing of the data which comes. At what frequency, at what level, and what kind of data you do get, and what you can do with it. So yes, it's there in the bank.
Awesome. Jigar, if you can add your context to the same question, please.
Yeah, so a lot of it is ML, and we are yet to evolve into AI fully. So, yeah.
For me, I think it is ML++ only. Like we are not able to realize the true value of deep learning still now on our maybe the columnar data that we have, right? So I think that's the challenge that we're seeing. We are not seeing so much improvements. So maybe in the text field or maybe in the NLP field, it does give a lot of improvements. But when we talk about columnar data, it doesn't give extra improvements, I would say.
Got it. So, coming back to my final few questions as well, it's been amazing to hear your insights, of course, is you have the right culture, you have the right, tools in the place, you've got clean data, you've hired the best talent from data engineers first, of course, that's a great learning for us today, PhDs, data scientists. How do you now really democratize data within the organization? That's the key buzzword from many customers and partners that we talk to is data democratization. How do organizations today enable data and analytics to self-serve within an organization with user-driven inputs rather than relying on a BU to help them?
I think what we are doing is we have separate systems for separate people. Like data scientists will like to develop his models, implement them. So for them, there's a different kind of systems that we have developed. But for business analyst kind of people, then we have a different kind of system where they can do some quick analysis on the data, and they can have some quick representations of the data in an easy way, so that they can put it into the business presentations. So I think we are just cracking the problem problem not from a single point of view, but then creating systems like from different people, how they use the data.
Jigar, your context, please.
So we have profiled our team across the organization, CXOs. We have identified power users and given them some self-servicing portals where they can, in a way, create any ad hoc drag and drop so that they can get some basic data access. So that's how we've tried to, but yeah, data literacy and data awareness is a challenge for us. We are evolving there, honestly.
Thank you.
And I think exactly what Ankur said, I will say that there are levels of compliance because we have to take care of compliance and PI data, everything. So everybody has it, but at the end of the day, we are the center where we get all the data points, access to it, and then we serve to everybody.
Awesome. I'll come to my final question now as well. What's the future looking like? What's the future of the data landscape looking like? And if you were to, give some advice or give some kind of best practices, overcoming challenges advice to folks here, what would that be?
So as I said, growth hacking mindset, that's number one. Break the data silos. Experiment. That's my motto. Keep experimenting.
All right. Growth mindset, experiment, and keep hacking away.
I would say data foundation. Look at converting unstructured data into structured data to the extent possible because it's still an iceberg. And also having the right skill set, the blend of data engineers, data analysts, data science and business analysts, that's very critical to power the next sort of phase of analytics.
Any futuristic outlook? Where do you think this is heading to? What's the data landscape looking like in the future for you?
Very difficult to say that at this junction.
For me, I think it's the collaboration, right? So I think we as technologists concentrate on the data part more, but I think the value lies between the collaboration between our data and the business side of it. So I think whoever marries those two things well is going to have more investment from the top management, is going to have more and more use cases, more revenue coming in. So I think that collaboration, doesn't happen in organizations, and I think if it happens, it really brings in the value and the money that it can bring on the table.
Fantastic. With that, I think we come to the end of our amazing panel discussion. A huge round of applause for our panelists here as well. I'm sure this has been absolutely entertaining, enlightening, and also enriching for everyone who's embarking on a data journey as well. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you.